All right, we're gonna go through some questions and answer them. We got a handful.
Well, Greg got a handful. Nobody asked me questions.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay.
Oh, whoops! Shit, hold on.
You watching your reels? Okay, this is a good one. This is a good one to start with. How important are deload weeks? How often should you be doing them, if at all?
That's a good one. Do you want to go first?
Well, it all kind of depends. They are important. They are very important. If anything, I'm probably pretty bad at taking them myself. I feel like whenever I go traveling or I go on vacation or I'm just off track, that can technically be viewed as a deload because you're not training at the same capacity as you were if you were on track or if you're at home and not traveling. But they are really important to help facilitate proper recovery and better adaptation to your training or your dieting or whatever. I think a general rule of thumb, like 4 to 6 weeks, every 4 to 6 weeks. Or, I mean, I feel like the more advanced you are, I feel like maybe the less you need to take them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that a hot take, or do you agree with that?
Yeah, like I would just say, like, if you're not training hard enough, then you probably don't need to take a deload.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's new to training, or maybe they're just not training at their full capacity, then taking a deload probably isn't necessary because their body probably isn't getting the same amount of stress on it. Basically, a deload gives you more time to be able to recover, because if you're training, say, 4 or 5 days a week, you're only going to be getting a couple days of recovery per week. So doing a deload, bringing down the volume, bringing down the weight or the frequency of your training, it does give you a little bit more time just to be able to focus on rest and recovery. But like you said, I do think that for the majority of people doing this for lifestyle, deloads can just happen naturally.
Yeah.
Like if you have a trip coming up, use that as a deload. Or if you have a really busy week and you know that you may not be getting in all of your workouts, you could treat that as a deload as well. For me personally, I don't mark in my calendar when I'm going to take a deload week. I definitely just do it based on how I'm feeling. And I naturally find that probably every 6 to 8 weeks, I just take a week where I either don't train 4 days, maybe I only train like 2 or 3 days, or I just drop the weight down and I can tell that my body needs a little bit more time to recover. I think if people are bodybuilding or just very consistent with their training, that's when you can program them in a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But I think if you have experience and you understand how to listen to your body, you can either take them when you do have like a trip or vacation, or you can just kind of base it on how you are feeling too.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, it depends on your level of experience with training. I think an easy, simple analogy to paint the picture is if you're driving on a highway, like if you're going on a road trip, you'll eventually run out of gas. So you need to stop at a gas station to gas up, and stopping at the gas station to gas up is kind of like the deload, right? If you're driving on the road trip for hours on hours, that would be your, weeks on end of training consistently. You'll eventually have to gas up. You'll eventually have to like give your body a little bit of a break. And yeah, every 4 to 6 weeks, I think is like a general rule of thumb. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it totally depends on your level of consistency and fitness.
Yeah. And I know one thing with like deloads as well is for a lot of people, when we're coaching our clients, we're pushing them, we're focusing on progressive overload and increasing weight and getting stronger. And it can be easy in the pursuit of getting stronger and increasing weight to start to slack a little bit on tempo, form, control, making a good mind-muscle connection. So I think that deloads are beneficial in that sense as well, because sometimes it causes people to take a step back from chasing those strength goals, and they maybe actually have better workouts on their deload week because they realize that they were slacking a little bit on form or control, or maybe they were rushing their reps or something like that too. So there are definitely benefits to deloads, and I think if you are training hard and with intensity, you will find a lot more longevity in your training from doing them.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, best and worst parts about working from home.
You go first.
I think the best part about working from home is just kind of always just feeling like it's just so easy, right? Like if I wanted, like I technically can work whenever I want to work. You're not obviously confined to restricted work hours. It's convenient because you're at home. You don't have to travel to work. You don't have to go anywhere. As long as you have your internet connection and you have your computer, your set, whatever, you technically can just work from anywhere. It doesn't necessarily need to be at home. But I think there are some drawbacks to it. I think when you initially think about working from home, I think you initially think this is awesome. It's easy. I can just roll out of bed and start working. But there are some drawbacks, and I think the biggest drawback for me is just like how, I guess, lonely it can be, because you aren't interacting with anybody. If you technically are at home by yourself, like you don't have like roommates or your partner is at home or whatever, like you're just home all day by yourself, and it can get boring and lonely. I find myself just kind of like going for random walks just for the sake of doing something than just sitting at my desk and trying to, find something to do. And so I feel like the worst part is just like how isolating it can feel sometimes.
Yeah. I find it kind of funny because I started online coaching in 2017. So I'd been doing it for 3 years before COVID hit. And then COVID hit and a lot of people were at home. We were all at home, or their jobs actually started to have people working remotely because they found there were more benefits to sending them to an office. And people were struggling a lot with being at home like 24/7, whereas I was like, I've been doing this for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like I struggled with it more in 2017. I was like used to it now. I think the benefits are just the flexibility, being able to do what you want when you want to a certain degree, and being able to work everywhere. For me, I was able to work from home while I had like newborns, while my kids were infants, toddlers. They only just started both going to care full-time, So I was able to raise them while staying at home. I didn't have to send them to daycare to go back to work. But I think some of the drawbacks are you have to set your own boundaries, which is really hard.
Yeah, that can be hard.
Yeah, so nobody's telling you that you have to work at a certain time with our job anyways, for the most part. So for me, having a calendar and a planner and scheduling out what time I'm gonna be doing what is very important for me, because one thing that I will do is I'll just start working all day sort of thing, where I'm kind of just checking my phone, or I'm just sporadically going to my office, or I'm working at 10 p.m. at night or something, where I know I have a lot more productivity when I'm working between certain hours during the day, and I'm kind of cutting it off. And then I would also say just blending home and work life can be challenging sometimes, because for a lot of people, they go to work. I always talk about this with my husband. They go to work, and for the most part, when they come home, work stays at work and home stays at home, for the most part. Whereas for us, it's all the same.
Yeah, you're never really off work. Yeah.
But I do think that the benefits outweigh the negatives for me.
I think so. You just have to be self-driven. Like you said, if you don't have your own schedule or your own routine, then you can easily find yourself just fucking around and just not doing any work or not doing what you need to do. I think obviously for a lot of people, when they go into work, they have a boss there, they have a manager, they have tasks that they need to get done. Whereas ours is for the most part, very self-directed. We have an idea what we need to do, and we know what we need to do and what needs to get done. But again, it's no one's telling us to do it by a certain time. There's no due date. There's no, have this on my desk by this time, right? It's just kind of whenever we want to do it and we get it done. And so you do need to be self-driven, which is, again, I think I agree. The benefits definitely outweigh the negatives for sure.
Yeah.
If Don were to be if he put together, if he built an office, a DIY office, and
would we even be more productive though if
I
we
don't
were
know.
all together?
But even just doing what we're doing right now, getting together to make content.
Yeah.
I feel that can be beneficial in the sense okay, we can create content with each other and bounce ideas off of each other. I don't know. You wouldn't have to go in obviously 5 days a week sort of thing, but once or twice a week, let's go meet up and like everyone kind of work together sort of thing. I feel like that would be productive.
cool.
That would be fun. But I don't know, there's a lot of things about that you wouldn't necessarily need. Like you don't need to have an office to do that kind of stuff.
A lot of people also use the time constraint of having to be at work to be productive in other aspects of life. So say if somebody starts work at 9 a.m., maybe they wake up at 6 to go to the gym, or they wake up at 6 to go for a run, or maybe after work they go to the grocery store and they get their meal prep done because they know that they're going to be at work the next day. So that's something that you have to do yourself when you work from home, right? Like when you wake up early to go for a walk or to go for a run, like you're choosing to do that. You don't have to do it because you don't have to be at work by a certain time, but you've learned that discipline to have structure in other aspects of your life. Because it can definitely be easy when you work from home to just wake up and just hang out all day.
Yeah. I find myself doing that sometimes. It's not like I wake up every single morning and like on my shit. Like sometimes, like some mornings I wake up and I'll like watch TV for like an hour at like 8 a.m. and I'm like, okay, I should probably go do something. Like I can't, like, again, that can be seen as a positive or a negative, but I feel like I get a little bit anxious doing that because I'm like, okay, I know I should be productive or like be doing something during this time rather than just watching YouTube.
Like I wrote some fire questions down, just telling you now.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, okay, now I feel the pressure. Okay. So, what do you think some mistakes are that people make when they start tracking their macros that causes them to maybe think of tracking macros as being a negative thing?
Trying to be perfectionist with it. Yeah, I think people just get a little overwhelmed with trying to make the numbers fit perfectly, which for anybody who has tracked macros, you know that it's very difficult to do that. You can do that, but it's not recommended because it would be very challenging and difficult and meticulous with you'd have to be very meticulous with your food in order to reach those numbers and those goals, which just thinking about doing that right now would make me anxious because then you're just constantly thinking about the certain amounts of food that you need to have in order for you to hit these certain goals. Now, obviously, you have to try to be within those numbers, within reason, right? You have to try to be within a certain parameter. But I think people view it as like it needs to be this way, otherwise I'm not going to be progressing. And I think that's where people make mistakes. I don't think it's necessarily the tracking that causes overwhelm and stress. I think it's the mindset that they go into it and the way they view it rather than like the actual tracking of it themselves or the actual tracking of it itself. It's not that's causing anxiety and stress. It's kind of their mindset and thoughts about it all.
Yeah, I would kind of say the same thing. I would say when it comes to food selection, people can definitely have the wrong mindset surrounding just their relationship with food and food in general. That can kind of cause a negative relationship with tracking macros. So for example, if somebody starts tracking their macros but they still think of food as good versus bad, then they're tracking their food but they're like, oh, I can't have that, I can't have that, I can't have that. Whereas one thing I really like to focus on with my clients is having a relationship with food where you are telling yourself you can eat whatever you want. You could go have that donut, you could go have that burger and fries, but how is that going to impact how you feel? How is that going to impact your food for the rest of the day? For example, if you have a medium blizzard and you track that, you're gonna find that the rest of your day is a little bit discombobulated. You're probably not gonna feel as satiated. You might feel a little bit of like an energy high and then a crash or something like that. So thinking of tracking macros, not what you can't fit, but more so kind of being empowered to know, like, sure, I can eat that, but how would I feel after? Or how would that dictate the rest of my day? Or something like that. Or sometimes people will abuse tracking macros and they'll start to fit in a bunch of fast food or a bunch of high calorie food. Maybe they aren't focusing on building well-balanced, rounded meals. They aren't having a good serving of protein with every meal. And then they don't feel good because sure, with tracking macros, you can make all of your foods fit or all food fit, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you should. And so just being able to listen to your body is a skill that you'll gain through tracking macros properly.
That's the approach I take with all of my clients when it comes to tracking calories and macros. I don't really talk to them about free meals or cheat meals or anything like that. I let them make the decision to eat what they want, and they'll honestly come to the conclusion themselves. They're like, I had this meal, it made me feel like shit, I'm not gonna have that again. I'm like, perfect, yeah. Like that would probably make me feel like shit too. That's why I typically stick to my meal prep, or typically stick to the same foods I like eating that make me feel good. Every now and then I'll go to a restaurant or order out, whatever. Yep. But yeah, if you try to make those kinds of things fit into your macros all the time, you'll find that, yeah, this kind of makes me feel shitty, or yeah, I fell short on my protein, consistently trying to fit in these random foods in. So maybe it's a better idea to try to fit whole foods in rather than trying to fit in a Blizzard or protein bars or whatever, right? Yeah. You'll get the experience, you'll gain the experience and confidence the more and more you do it. But I think for the most part, yeah, I think the mindset is so important and it's so key when tracking calories and macros. It goes for anything, tracking even like finances, right? I know people don't track finances because like it freaks them out and it scares them. But it's like if you just go into it with a specific mindset that it's like, okay, this will actually help me, I don't know, save more money or whatever. Mm-hmm. I always like making those parallels because I think they're so similar, but it is the mindset.
Also, if you only think of tracking macros as like a dieting tool or a fat loss tool, right, then it could be something that's negative, right? Whereas, what about tracking macros when you're at maintenance calories or when you're in a building phase? Because oftentimes people think of it as some restrictive thing, but if you're actually doing it properly and you're not dieting year round, you're gonna be able to track just to make sure you're eating enough food, make sure you're eating enough protein, make sure you're eating enough carbs. You don't need to think about it as like something where you're trying to eat as little as possible and track it.
Yeah, it's just informative.
Yeah.
Yeah, informed eating.
Or when they think it's something that you're gonna do forever, like tracking macros is not something you're gonna do forever. Mm-hmm. So when people have that mindset, I think it becomes a little bit, I don't know what the word, you just don't look forward to it because you're like, I'm gonna have to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
When it's not. Even if you track your macros for a short period of time, you will learn so much in that short period of time that you'll be able to apply for the rest of your life type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think this was a good one. Worst and best machines at the gym. So I thought this one, let's go best and worst lower body machine, and then worst and best upper body machine.
Okay, you go first.
I think let's start with the best. When I'm thinking lower body, I really like the pendulum squat. I think that's a really fun machine to use.
I've never used it.
You've never used it?
No.
It is so good. Literally lights your quads up like crazy. So I personally really like that machine. Worst lower body machine? I don't know. I don't think these are the worst, like, in terms of like, I don't know. In terms of like functionality, maybe the adduction and abduction machines. But I like those machines. Like I still personally use them, but if I were to rank all the machines like best to worst, like they would technically be at the bottom. Like I think there's more use out of the other machines versus the abduction adduction.
Okay, so best for me would probably be the leg press.
Okay.
Which is similar to the pendulum squat in the sense that it's just a different variation of a squat.
It is.
Basically.
Yeah.
And the leg press is very accessible for a lot of people. So if people don't have experience with squatting with dumbbells or a barbell, or maybe they have a history of back pain or something, the leg press can be a good alternative because your back is supported. It's pretty hard to have bad form with a leg press for the most part. And then I would probably say like any machines that are working your hamstrings or quads, so like a leg extension, seated leg curl, lying leg curl would be good because sometimes it's hard for people to make that mind muscle connection. And if you're doing something like a squat or a deadlift, those muscle groups are being worked as like secondary muscle groups. So it's a good way to isolate them. And then I would say the worst would probably be like a machine glute kickback machine.
Oh yeah. Those are pretty shit for the most part.
Like for the most part. And
there's value in them,
Yeah.
but like, again, if you're ranking them all,
Yeah.
that's probably near the bottom.
The reason I rank that one so poorly is because I think it's really hard to build that machine for all body types, right? Like someone who's 4'11" using a machine glute kickback versus me 6 feet tall. Like when I use the machine glute kickback, I have to be like sideways and this leg's really bent. And I'm like, it takes me so much like effort to actually feel the isolation in my glute versus just doing like a cable glute kickback.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's fair.
I would say. But I don't know.
But again, like
it is accessible.
Yeah, it's accessible and like there is value in it. Like I think there's value in all of these machines, but it's just the most bang for your buck. I think, those, I would agree, that's near the bottom. Okay, upper body. I didn't think about that. I don't know. I feel like, is Smith Machine a cop-out? Like I feel like Smith Machine is like overall.
Is good or bad?
Good. I really like the Smith Machine.
Yeah.
I think overall, like just everything upper body, I think the Smith Machine is really good. Worst upper body? Like, I don't know. Or even cables. Like, I feel like cables are pretty well-rounded, like in terms of like a good machine. I don't know if there's any again, like what's the, like if you were to like own a gym, what would be the last machine you would pick up for upper body, you know?
Like the ab crunch machine?
Yeah.
Because there are so many. I'm not thinking of machines as bad. I'm thinking of like the accessibility. If you could do just another exercise that would be just as good. Than using a machine, since machines are like big and expensive type thing. I don't know. I think of like, what's that forearm?
Oh, the one at Gold's?
Machine, yeah.
Yeah, there's a few machines at Gold's that are, I thought that bird flew in here. That was close.
That was close. I think there's a lot of like row and like pressing machines that maybe are just a little bit too much, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
there's a few machines at Gold's that are very useless.
Yeah. There's just a lot of machines at Gold's.
There's a lot of machines in general, but there's a handful that are
no hate
useless.
To Gold's.
No hate, but if you can get rid of some of them, I would.
Yeah. I honestly, like, as I've progressed, you've got to be kidding me. It is the end of September. There's not a wasp in here. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, as I progressed in my health and fitness journey, I rely less and less on machines. Like I can get such a good workout in using barbells, dumbbells, cables, body weight. Machines in general, I don't rely on as much, but I definitely did earlier on in my journey when I didn't have the best form or knowledge of what to do, because you can go up to a machine and you can see how to use it on it or whatever.
Right.
That was an interesting question.
Yeah. Like I feel like there's value in all machines and like all equipment, but there's just some that get less use out of them and have less functionality. Yeah, I think it's a good question though.
That's good. 11/11, make a wish.
Okay, you go next. You said you had some fire questions.
Okay, well, I kind of got nervous after I said that. Okay, what would be your ideal self-care day? So if you woke up tomorrow morning and you could do anything, like within reason, for a day, just to like fill your cup and have a really good day, what would you do?
I don't know. I feel like it would be pretty lame. I feel like wake up, go for an early morning walk, come home, have my coffee. I would sit on a patio or like my deck. I wish we had a couch out there because I would get like all cozy with my coffee out on like a cool morning. I would love that. Go make breakfast. Go to the gym. Maybe go for another walk, grab ice cream.
Ice cream, I like that.
Yeah, I like ice cream during a walk. Come home, have a nap. That would be nice. I don't normally nap. And then, I don't know, maybe order in some food for dinner. Like, I feel like it's pretty lame.
I feel like every day is self-care day.
Every day does that sound like a Tuesday to you?
Yeah. I feel like mine's gonna be so much more extravagant. It's probably because I'm a mom. Okay, so I would wake up.
This was a question for you. This wasn't for me.
I just wanted to answer this.
Yeah.
No, okay, so I'd wake up. I would just like do my normal morning routine, probably go for a walk, go to the gym, and then after the gym, like go for a massage or go to chiro or some sort of body work. That always is like, fills my cup for me. And then come home, have lunch, maybe go to like a nail appointment or go get like a facial or something. And then maybe go to Lulu. This was a question.
Some shopping therapy.
Go to Lulu, maybe go buy some new shoes. Hang out with Chris and the girls if they weren't fighting. Like if they're being good, hang out with them. And then probably like either have like a family dinner or just have like a bunch of friends over for dinner. Just like spend time with people that I like spending time with, that mean a lot to me. And then probably just like watch a couple episodes of my show and drink a Zevia and go to bed.
Yeah, I feel like self-care is very important for women.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big thing. But for guys,
and play volleyball.
Yeah,
I
actually,
play
yeah,
volleyball.
I'd squeeze volleyball in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like for guys, it's very like, I would like to just go play around a golf and I'm good. You know, like that's
Chris would just say golfing.
golf. Yeah, like guys are just so single-minded and
Yeah.
simple like that. But like for girls, like you said, like I think it's a very important thing to like. And there's so many different things that like fill your cup, whereas guys are like, yeah, I'll just go play golf or I'll go like and work out for a couple
I'd go to
hours.
Starbs. I'd
Yeah.
go to Starbies for sure.
Yeah, that's funny. No, I actually think that like for guys, it's just so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think guys think like that, to be
No, they
honest.
don't.
I don't think they think like that.
That's why I wanted to ask you. I like the ice cream with the
Yeah,
walk.
I'll go for a walk with some ice cream. I love getting ice cream on a walk. I like doing that. But yeah, other than that, like, yeah,
So funny.
it's pretty standard, boring stuff.
But like we did talk about things that we do on a daily basis, right?
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of things that I do that I
Yeah.
mentioned that I just do all the time. Yeah.
Which is probably why you don't feel like you need to have like a huge self-care day.
Yeah, like if
Because you kind of look after yourself
if
every
my
day.
life was constantly filled with stress, then yeah, like I feel like maybe my day would look a little bit different. Or
I'll ask you when you have kids, Greg.
yeah, when I'm a little more stressed out. Okay, very good question. Do hormones actually affect weight loss, or is that a myth?
You go first.
They definitely affect weight loss. Now, how common is it? I don't think it's as common as some people may think, but it's definitely a thing. I think when we were just talking about this stress, when you're stressed out, that is a surefire way for your hormones to start to move out of balance or start to shift around. If you're constantly under rested, if you're not getting good sleep, if you're constantly stressed, if you have newborn children, if you're busy at work, this is all adding to your stress bucket. And if your stress bucket starts to overflow or just starts to get too full, then your body's going to respond in such a way that your hormones start to shift and move around and start to get out of balance. And I think, what was I going to say? Having higher body fat percentage is also a result of having imbalanced hormones. So yeah, your hormones are for sure can be a reason why you're not losing fat or why you are gaining fat. It definitely plays a role.
Yeah. I think you alluded to this, but if people have hormone imbalances or if things are off, the actual hormone imbalance may or may not affect their ability to lose body fat, but I think it impacts their ability to perform certain habits and routines that would affect their ability to lose body fat, right? So if somebody is a little bit overweight, they are most likely going to have a bit of a hormonal imbalance, because it's very common when people do prioritize their health and fitness more for their hormone levels to improve. So I do think that due to those imbalances, they are struggling to lose body fat. But it could be, like you said, because they are struggling with energy or poor sleep or irritability, muscle fatigue and soreness, like a lack of being able to push themselves and actually build strength, certain things like that. Obviously, hormones being off can also greatly impact your hunger levels and kind of the cravings that you have for certain foods. So I do think if you are someone who's struggling to lose body fat and you feel like you are trying to do everything right, but you're not seeing results, getting a blood work done, getting a blood panel done would be really beneficial to see what's going on. And then once you get those results and findings, you can make the little tweaks as needed. There's obviously a varying scale of someone who's struggling with like a really bad hormonal imbalance, or somebody who could make some small lifestyle or maybe supplementation tweaks and changes in order to be able to like see good results. I'll just kind of like use myself as an example, but this is kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. So this wasn't me struggling with a hormonal imbalance and not being able to lose body fat. I was actually at a really low body fat percentage and my hormones were whack. So it's that fine line, because if you do have too much body fat, you may struggle with hormonal imbalance. If you have too little body fat, you're also likely going to struggle with some sort of hormonal imbalance because your hormones slow down or stop production to a certain degree. So yeah,
I went like the stress route, because typically when people are overly stressed, then it leads to like what you said, it leads to them not partaking in healthy habits or going to the gym or ordering food out. And let's admit it, like most people nowadays are, filled with stress. Like the economy is shit, things are expensive, people are busy. Like I think most people nowadays are very stressed out. And again, it does lead to your behaviors, and it leads to you making, different decisions that lead to, potentially poorer health, which then lead to your hormones being out of whack, which again, there's just like a whole host of issues down the line. But it's definitely not a myth. There is definitely, like your hormones definitely do play a role when it comes to your health in general, but like fat loss and fat gain.
And if you are someone who struggles with hormonal health, I think one of the first things that should be recommended is to prioritize proper nutrition and moving your body, proper exercise, strength training paired with some cardiovascular and healthy habits, drinking enough water, sleeping enough, managing stress and stuff like that. Because I do think that sometimes supplementation can act as a bit of a band-aid solution. And oftentimes people are always looking for like the quick fix in terms of this pill or this powder or this supplement, when if they were to actually just prioritize healthy habits and proper nutrition and movement, they would find really great improvements in their hormone health and levels as well.
Yeah, start with the simple stuff first before you resort to like getting a blood panel done or trying to like take drastic measures to fix it. Like just look at like your lifestyle first. Okay, what else you got?
Okay, so say that someone is new to going to the gym. Maybe they've been training at home, or maybe they've just never strength trained before or never been to a gym before. What are some tips you would give them for proper gym etiquette? Because I had a client ask me this. She had trained from home for about a year, maybe over a year, just over, and she started going to the gym, and she was like, how should I act to like not get in people's ways or to act properly? Which I actually thought was like a very thoughtful question, right?
That's a good question. I feel like you would almost still carry yourself the same way you would carry yourself in any public place. The gym more specifically though, like putting your weights away, I think that's a really important one. If I see someone not putting weights away, that irks me, because it's so simple, and you use the weights, so just put them back, where they're supposed to go. But that one, like, I think that's the only thing specifically that stands out to me. That's like, just make sure to put your weights away.
I have like a laundry list.
You have a laundry list? Really? I think if you're just a polite person, if you're a nice person, and you put your weights away, personally, that's all I would be concerned about.
Okay.
But there's obviously more that I'm not thinking about.
Okay, so should I go?
Yeah, go for it. Go for
Okay,
it.
so I would say wipe down equipment when you're using a
never
machine.
Do that.
You never do that?
No.
Don't work out with Greg. Don't go to the same gym as Greg.
I would do that during COVID because that was like the big thing. You had to.
do that.
You still do that?
Yeah.
No. I never did it before.
It's just my butt sweat gets all over the seats. It's like an imprint as I'm walking away.
That's funny. I'm just outing myself here.
So wipe down equipment. Another one would be if you're in the change room and you want to take a fire selfie, maybe just take tabs, making sure there's no one behind you naked or changing.
Okay. That's fair.
That would be another one because that would be pretty uncomfortable for them. I would say like personal hygiene in the gym is very important.
Yeah, that's fair.
So if you're going to be in a public place where people are all around you trying to work out, you need to, make sure you're wearing deodorant, clean clothes. We don't need smelly people around. And I understand that obviously sometimes you even wear deodorant, you stink, but I think just as a general, you should try, I think asking people things. So for example, if you're waiting to use a machine and you don't know if someone is using it, like just feel free to ask them. Just be like, hey, are you using this? Or do you mind if I work in with you? Or how many sets do you have left? I think sometimes people are a bit nervous or intimidated to do that, especially if they're talking to like a gym bro or someone who looks pretty experienced.
Right.
But you never know unless you ask, I would say. And then just kind of, I'm always mindful of like personal space when I'm at the gym. So if you're working out in front of the dumbbell rack and you're like doing lateral raises like right here and someone's trying to shoulder press, like that might be a little bit awkward or something, but.
See, I didn't think of those things because I feel like that's just common sense.
But it's not.
But it's not, and you're right.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. Like obviously, make sure you're wearing deodorant.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't think of those things because like to me it's not obvious.
One thing that I used to do all the time was film in the gym, all the time. And I wouldn't care if people were in the back of my videos, but it's weird. I stopped going to the gym for a couple of years because of COVID and kids. I was training from home. And now going back to the gym, if there's someone in the background of my video, like I'm covering their faces with something or I'm not posting it, if I'm posting it to my social media or something. And I honestly think it's just because like when I went back to the gym, I was honestly a little bit nervous. And I thought like, what if I'm in the back of someone's videos and I'm not feeling super confident in what I'm doing? So I kind of had a shifted perspective in that.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's fair. Filming in the gym is a funny one because a lot of people don't feel comfortable with it. Which again, if you don't feel comfortable with it and you see someone filming, I think that's on the two people to be like, hey, I don't want to be filmed. Do you mind like not filming me? And then for the person filming being like, yeah, no problem. Sorry, I'll film over here or whatever, right? Like, I think that's still an awkward one for some people and people still get fired up about that.
I don't think it's hard to film without people in the background.
No, it's not. No. Again,
like you can even blur the background. A lot of times now, but.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know. Again, I think this is just me being a guy and just thinking so like, oh yeah, just put your weights away. You'll be fine.
I'm like, wear deodorant.
Yeah. I'm like, obviously wear deodorant. No, but no, it is a good question. Especially, I have to put myself in the shoes of someone who's new going into the gym.
Yeah.
I have a hard time putting myself in other people's shoes.
When my client asked that, it made me think. Like the first time that I went to the gym, I had no idea. Like I was so nervous.
Right.
So as someone who's like been going to the gym for over 10 years now, I really had to think about what some good gym etiquette is. But I thought that was like a thoughtful question of her. And then I also just had to say like the gym is a safe space for everybody.
Yeah.
I really think that in terms of not wanting to like offend or upset people, like everybody is allowed to be there. And as long as you're like mindful and respectful of other people, it shouldn't be a space that's like just for experienced gym goers or something.
Yeah, it can be very intimidating, but it is, like it is one of the more welcoming places you can go because everyone there is just literally there to like get healthier and be stronger and like better themselves. And if you are in the gym with all these other people, then you guys all share this common interest, right? And you're all there for the same reason. So yeah.
This is also a funny thing though, since I started going back to the gym, is like, I don't know, I kind of pin myself as like the mom going back to the gym, like not the trendy, hip, cool young person anymore. But then like the last few times I've gone, there have been like girls that come up to me and they're like, I love your leggings, or like your legs look so good. And I'm like, I love it here. I'm gonna come back here more often.
That's funny.
Like they're so nice. People are so nice in the gym for the most part.
Yeah, they are, for the most part.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go, there's gonna be that one asshole, but that's anywhere you go.
I feel like you think my questions are all so weird. I thought
No, they're
so
not
good.
weird. They're good. No, they're good because they make me think.
Okay.
I have to think outside the box and think differently from how I normally think. How do you approach / deal with clients who don't follow their programs?
You go first.
This was a funny one because have you ever heard of the idea of extreme responsibility?
Nope.
So extreme responsibility is the idea that like everything is your fault. So if a client doesn't follow the program, I did something wrong to make them feel like they don't need to follow it, or they're not bought in enough, or that they're just not bought in. And I have to think to myself like, okay, where did I go wrong so that they felt like they don't need to follow the program, or they didn't find value in the service I'm providing. Whereas another way of thinking about it, which I think is probably not the best way to think about it, but I think it's a more common way to think about it, is, oh, this person sucks, or like they're lazy, or they weren't ready, or whatever, right? Which I think that's the initial response naturally you have. Just, I think that's just like a human natural response. But I think if you think about it from the lens of this was my fault, I think that gives you a lot more opportunity for growth, and it gives you an opportunity for you to look back and be like, where did I go wrong? How could I have connected with this client a little bit better? How can I fix this moving forward so that it doesn't happen again? Or can I get this client back on their program? So I think looking at it through the lens of like a growth mindset rather than like a victim mindset, being like, is their fault, like they did it to themselves sort of thing. Even though maybe it was them, like maybe I did do everything in my power, but still, you want to view it from like, where could I improve?
Right. Yeah, I think that people, if they aren't following, did it say program?
Yeah,
aren't
just
following program? Okay.
Following their plan.
Okay, so if a client's not following their plan, sometimes I find that their response, if they're like just new to working with me or something, is guilt, shame, negativity. They feel like they're letting me down.
Yeah.
And they think that I'm going to get mad at them or something like that, or be disappointed in them. Whereas I always approach it in a really different way. And I always say, like, you're not doing this for me, right? And I don't mean this in like a harsh way or in an I don't care way, but as a coach and someone who's coached for a while now, I don't lose sleep over a client not following a program. They should want to do it for themselves. And it's about them maybe failing themselves or disappointing themselves, instead of them trying to make it seem like it's something they're doing for me or for someone else, right? You have to be doing it for yourself. So if they're not being consistent, if they're not adhering, it's not necessarily a matter of just being like, you need to follow this, you need to try harder, you need to do better. It would be looking at like why, like what is going on in their mind, with their mindset. Are there, do they have a fixed mindset where they truly don't think they're capable of changing or capable of growing? Do they have high stress in their job or home? Are there some big changes that they're going through in life? What are the emotions that they're feeling? Like if it's the fact that they're overeating or they're just not following their meal plan, like typically it's because of a behavior or an emotion that they're feeling, where they're feeling stressed or they're feeling sad or they're feeling something, and they're choosing to utilize food as kind of a coping mechanism for that. So I don't ever just look at it as like, you're not following your plan, you need to do better. I really like to look at like the big picture and actually figure out what else is going on that's causing them not to follow their plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you have to try to, like you almost kind of have to like dig and figure out what is actually happening. Like again, like if you were just given a plan, like anyone can just follow it, right? But like, is there any incentive for them to follow it? Like, yeah, like you said, like what's going on at home? Do they think a certain way? Like, and it's our job to figure out, okay, like how can I get this person to exercise? How can I get this person to like eat healthy? You know, I can't just tell them you have to do this for you to be healthy, or like you're gonna develop, I don't know, illnesses, whatever, right? Like that stuff doesn't work. I know they talk about this on Mind Pump, but they always say like obese people or like relatively unhealthy people know that they're unhealthy. Like it's not like they're walking around blind to the fact, right? But it's like like you have to figure out a way to like connect with them and to get them to make those decisions on their own. Like you said, like you're not going to lose sleep over it. But again, like how were you supposed to get them to like, I guess, see the light or drink the Kool-Aid, I guess, you know, like for them to finally make the choice, like I need to do this for me. It's not for anybody else, it's for me. Yeah.
And I also think that sometimes there can be adjustments made. So maybe, you know, as a coach looking to see if we can make any tweaks, or I often just try and simplify things, because sometimes people get that overwhelmed where they're looking at everything that they need to do and they kind of get that paralysis and they're like, I just can't do anything. Like this is too much or whatever. So then I'm like, okay, like let's just focus on 2 or 3 things that you can focus on for this week that you can be consistent with. And then we can build on that and add a couple of more things. So for example, if I have a client eating like 5 meals a day and they're struggling to stay on top of their nutrition program, I'll say, let's just focus on breakfast, lunch, and dinner and make those balanced, well-rounded meals. Or just focus on prepping your dinner for this week or something like that. And then they can kind of build on that as well, instead of trying to go from 0 to 100.
Yeah, start at a place where you can add more. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting question because again, yeah, you can like view it from so many different angles.
Yeah.
That was all I had. Do you have any more?
Okay, well, I'm gonna look to see what the actual questions that I got were, because I got
just
3. Shout out to the person who said they're enjoying our chats, but didn't provide any questions. It's fine. Okay, this is a funny one. Are rotisserie chickens healthy? I can't seem to find a straight answer anywhere.
Are rotisserie chickens healthy? I don't know.
I just got that question.
Yeah?
I love the questions that you get.
Well, I left
Versus the questions that I get.
I left a couple of them out because I was like, well, it's hard to like build conversation on that. But
we can build a conversation on this, Greg.
Okay, are rotisserie chickens? Sure, yeah, but healthier than what? Or not as healthy as what? Right? Like I think it depends on the context.
Yeah.
Like if all you have access to in terms of protein is rotisserie chicken, it's the best thing you have access to. I don't know. Do they like? Rotisserie chicken has a bunch of skin on it, right? So there's
I
fat
think they
in
add
that
a bunch of sodium to the skin, and I'm not sure what else they add to it.
I think it just depends. I don't think it's healthier than like chicken thighs or chicken breast. Like I think there's less processing going on there. But if you were to take a rotisserie chicken and just like take the breast, then it's technically the same as if you're just buying regular chicken breast.
Yep.
I don't know. That's an interesting question.
I think that this person might be asking based on like where you're getting it from. Like if you made a rotisserie chicken at home, then yes, it would be healthy. If you were just literally adding some seasoning and like, what do you do? Cook it on like a grill or something like that?
I don't know. I've never made one.
But I do think that some stores, like I'm just thinking of the Costco rotisserie chicken, like
Yeah.
I'm assuming that they add some sort of preservatives or additives to get them to stay fresh
Right.
for a long time. So I would think in that sense it would just be about maybe questioning like the ingredients that are being added. If there's a ton of sodium, so salt isn't a bad thing, but if you're eating a lot of processed foods, your sodium intake is going to be quite high. So just making sure that you're not just eating a bunch of like super salty processed foods for every single meal.
Yeah.
And then I really like what you said. If you have access to no other protein source than rotisserie chicken is going to be the better option. I know for me, when I was pregnant with my second daughter, I could not look at meat, I could not smell it, I could not touch it except for rotisserie chicken.
Really?
That is, it was so weird.
Oh.
So there was a period of time, it was probably like 3 or 4 weeks, where I would eat a rotisserie chicken like every 3 days. Like I would just buy one, it would last me 3 days. And that was one of the only protein sources that I could eat because I was so nauseous and I have no idea why it did not appeal to me.
Yeah.
I couldn't eat any other meat. The thought of it made me want to gag. But my protein intake would have been like very, very low if I wasn't eating rotisserie chicken like twice a day, probably. Yeah. I think it's very convenient. So if you're traveling or if you just need like a quick meal, you buy like a bagged salad and add some rotisserie chicken to it. Like you're gonna get some good protein, but not something that you should eat every single meal or maybe even every single day. If we're talking about the store-bought chicken where they do add probably preservatives and additives, I need to look up what they actually add to it.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, there's no real problem with it. Like I think it's just like, what are you comparing it to, or in relation to what, and if it's the only thing you have access to. I think just
frequency, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with like Diet Pop. Like if you're drinking it for every single meal, every single day, and you're not drinking water because you're drinking diet soda, you're
probably not a good idea. Yeah.
I really love that question.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That's funny because like what you said, that rotisserie chicken was the only protein source you were actually able to have. Like what are the odds that they're asking about that?
Yeah, that was weird. And then after I'd never bought it, I didn't need it after. Really weird. Okay, I'm gonna pick one more from my list. Ooh. Can you lose fat and build muscle at the same time?
Yeah, I think so. Personally, yes, I do think so. I think it depends on where you're at in your fitness journey. I think it's more common for beginners to experience that, and it's more common for very deconditioned individuals to experience that. But I think it's challenging. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's a lot more challenging and harder to do the more advanced you are. I know a lot of people say that you can't do it, but I've done it. I've done it through experience. I've helped clients do it. I think it's 1,000% doable. You just need to have your ducks in order, and you have to be prioritizing your training, your sleep, your rest, your recovery, your nutrition. Like you have to be pretty on point for these things to kind of move along. But again, the more beginner you are, the more deconditioned you are, the more likely you are to experience losing fat and building muscle at the same time.
Yeah, I would say you definitely can. If you're someone who's never strength trained before, it's a completely new stimulus to your body, building muscle. Or if you're somebody who's taken a period of time off of training, I know for me, during pregnancy and postpartum, I lost a little bit of muscle. And then when I started training again, I was definitely able to lose body fat and build muscle because I also had muscle memory. So once you build muscle, if you lose it, it actually comes back faster than if you were to be starting from ground zero. Which is why if I have a client who has an injury and maybe they aren't able to train like lower body for 8 weeks or a couple of months and they're really worried about losing muscle, I'm like, it's not a big deal because it's gonna come back pretty fast because you've already spent the time building it. But yeah, if somebody is like around their maintenance calories or even in a slight deficit, if the factors are in play, they're strength training properly, they're eating enough protein, that's very important, they're focusing on good recovery, like you can definitely make that body recomposition. That essentially is what it is. It's a body recomposition. I will say though, if you commit to one or the other, you may see better results.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Like if you wanted to build muscle and you just committed to going into like 300 to 500 calorie surplus per day and you focused on building for a period of time and then you went into a bit of a deficit, you would see more muscle growth from that time versus if you were to just to spend that time at maintenance trying
Agreed.
to build muscle.
Yeah, 100%. You're going to see better results if you're intentionally in a build or intentionally in a cut. You're going to see better results in either respect.
Yeah.
But it is, yeah, you definitely can do both at the same time.
Yeah, same thing if someone is in a deficit, a slight deficit, and they're wanting to build muscle. Like it's hard to say if it actually will happen or not. And again, like those factors kind of have to come into play, but you would probably just be better off being at maintenance or being in a slight build. And sometimes it's about just focusing on that like periodization with your nutrition and training where you say, like, let's just commit to 8 to 16 weeks of being in a fat loss phase because I know you want to lose body fat and then we'll be able to build muscle after that, right? And sometimes that gives them a little bit more satisfaction. Because when you are doing a body recomposition, I will say like it takes longer to see the visual changes and even you're not relying on the scale necessarily because you could definitely weigh the exact same but look completely different, which can be a little bit demotivating for people and they feel like they're not necessarily seeing results or seeing progress. So sometimes just committing to one or the other is a good idea for a period of time, but it is possible.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's a very I don't know if controversial is the right word, but there are some strong opinions about that on the internet.
That was my question that I wrote down, Greg.
That was a fire question.
Thank you. Better than the ideal self-care.
Okay, let me find one more that was kind of like...
Yeah, I'm done.
I've got no connection here.
In my garage?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Where is it? Oh, this was a good one. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I know what yours would be.
Everyone knows what mine would be.
Okay, what would yours be, Craig?
Hot dogs. Without a doubt.
Okay, why are hot dogs called glizzies?
Because they're, I want to say because of the... Okay, in my mind...
Like, because that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Glizzy. I think in my mind, because of the shape and because it can be kind of slippery, that's what I think.
Dead.
Glizzy.
And you'd still eat them for the rest of your life.
I'd still eat them for the rest of my life.
Okay. What do you put on your hot dog? Like to zest it up a bit.
Typically just ketchup and mustard, like pretty standard. But I do like throwing on some banana peppers. Do you like mayo?
No.
No. Mayo on a dog can be pretty good sometimes. Onions. Like fried onions, not raw onions.
And then where are your favorite sourced hot dogs?
I don't know if I have like a favorite source. Honestly, I haven't had a Costco hot dog in a really long time, and those are fire. But the only reason why I say hot dogs is because I just would never get sick of them.
Okay.
And it's just the one food that I think I could, like this, it all started back one weekend. I went to the Stampede and we were like 19, 18. So we were young and we were staying at our friend's place. And I literally just brought hot dogs for the whole weekend. I don't know why
that was the main food.
That was all I brought. I brought like 2 packs of like 12-pack hot dogs and then a bunch of buns. And that's all I packed for food for the weekend. And I was like, I can literally survive off this. I'm good. I enjoy it. Tastes good. And it's easy to make. And I think ever since then, I was like, yeah, that's for sure the one food I could probably eat forever and never get sick of.
See, like you're so fast to say that. What one you'd pick? I feel like that is such a hard question. Like for me, I I like food, but I don't have like a favorite food or a favorite meal. Like it's such a hard. I
Yeah.
would literally probably say like chicken thighs.
Yeah, well, that's
Which
not.
is so boring.
I say hot dogs. I think chicken thighs is a little bit more normal.
Yeah, like I would legitimately probably
So
say
you would never get.
chicken thighs.
Yeah, you'd never get sick of them.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
like my favorite meal is
Good to. Got him.
oh my god. Dude, that was intense.
This is gonna turn into just a video documentary, a video series of just killing wasps.
Okay, honestly, we've gotten quite good at killing them in midair though.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually
Like hot dogs aren't my favorite food. I have like more favorite foods.
Okay, you can't backtrack. You've already said hot dogs. I feel like, so mine would be like chicken thighs. If we're talking about a meal, it would probably be the pretzel chicken meal from Meal Prep for You.
Oh, really?
It is so good.
Did we have that in Kelowna?
I don't think so.
No.
So it's a chicken breast crusted in pretzel. And then it comes with like oven roasted potatoes. The vegetables are green beans, like bell peppers, and sauteed onions. And then it has like a honey mustard sauce.
That sounds good.
When they have it on their menu, that's all I eat.
Really?
I ordered 5 of them this week. I love it. I love it so much. But yeah. I just like food in general.
Yeah, I like food, yeah.
If you were deserted on an island, you would eat hot dogs.
Yeah, I like, there's lots of foods that I really like, but I think I would eventually get sick of it. I think hot dogs, I wouldn't get sick. I probably would get physically sick, but like I wouldn't get sick of eating them.
Do you ever watch like the hot dog eating competitions?
No, but I saw this year
They're nuts.
Joey Chestnut broke his own personal record.
Really?
Yeah, his own world record. I don't know what it was, but I saw that.
That would make me ill.
But they are gross. They like dip the hot dogs in water. Like they soak
Yeah.
them up and then just shove them back. That's nasty.
I just want to know what their digestion's like after that.
Oh God, yeah.
Like terrible. Terrible. It's so gross.
I'm pretty sure like a lot of like competitive food eaters like throw up like afterwards. Like they would have to.
The dark side.
Like there's no way that they don't. Like
No, that's disgusting.
they have to force themselves to get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
All right, we'll end it on that.
On that note.
Hot dogs for life.
On that note. I love that.